Now that Family Guy season 21 has come and gone, I asked in a poll what you guys thought of it, and the responses ranged from the best season in years to one of the worst. And then there was this person who had absolutely no idea that Family Guy was still going. So, is this Family Guy's new golden age or another forgettable season? Let's take a look back at this season's episodes to find out, as this is my brutally honest retrospective. Episode 1, Oscar's Guy. The first episode of the season parodies 3 Oscar-winning movies from the 90s, Forrest Gump, Silence of the Lambs, and American Beauty. So as a fan of all 3 movies, I was impressed with how they condensed them into 8-minute segments and still managed to hit all of the major beats.
Is he like me? Oh, you died.
And quite honestly, I'm surprised it took this long for Family Guy to parody Silence of the Lambs. Stewie makes a perfect Hannibal, and Seth Green even based Chris's voice on none other than Buffalo Bill in his first audition.
That actor Ted Levine who plays Buffalo Bill is the creepiest character ever.
But joke-wise, I did like how Meg complained about the quality of the lotion despite being trapped down a well.
CVS brand lotion?
It's the same ingredients as Nivea.
And the scene where Stewie wears a security guard's skin and no one notices that anything weird is going on is also pretty funny too.
Oh hey Sarge, your wife called and said it was urgent.
Okay.
So while not as great as the past parody episodes, Oscar's Guy was still a solid start to this season. Episode 2, Bend or Blockbuster. The second episode of the season sees Peter take his family on a cross-country road trip to visit the last Blockbuster in Oregon. Now, I love this concept, and it's one that I think could make a really great comedy film premise. But although the idea is fun, I feel that they could have played more on the whole road trip aspect, similar to the whole National Lampoon Vacation films. They got to Blockbuster far too quickly for my liking, and I'd have liked them to have more time stopping off at quirky sites along the way. We did have that moment where they stopped off in a diner and were confronted by MAGA supporters. I just wish that we got more character moments during the journey. Like how Chevy Chase's character shared a beer with his son when they crashed their car. What's more Family Guy than that? Now, maybe I'm expecting far too much from a 25-minute Family Guy episode, but I just feel that they could have really pushed this road trip idea a little bit more. But saying that, when they got to Blockbuster and Peter finds out about his $32,000 in debt of late fees, it caused the Blockbuster employees to chase him down, and that was very funny. I always remember how my mum was always panicking to get those DVDs back to Blockbuster in time before we incurred any debt. The ending is also pretty cute and sweet too, with everyone reminding Peter of the crazy fun things he's done.
You see, Dad, we don't need a movie night for us to remember you. Every day is like a movie night with you.
And overall, it's a very wholesome ending of a Family Guy episode. Episode 3, A Wife-Changing Experience. In this episode, Joe accidentally sees Lois naked, which in turn ignites his and Bonnie's sex life.
Without a pill, a shot, or a pump. You don't say.
And with Peter totally disinterested in her, Lois craves Joe's attention even more, so much so that she even puts on saucy shows for him. But when Peter finds out, he isn't too happy, and even after knocking out Joe, he tries but fails to get the girl's attention. So with them both now craving attention, they head out in skimpy costumes, but end up in a police van. But as it turns out, this is exactly where they're supposed to be, as it's here where they rekindle their bedroom life.
And I never knew your biggest fantasy was to do it as a cat from a children's book.
I feel that Family Guy has done this idea a few times already, with their marriage on the rocks and then rediscovering their interest in each other by the end of it. I just wish that we got an episode one day where they were already in love and happy. Do they always have to be in a marriage crisis? Now, what I will say is that The Simpsons did an incredible episode last season called Pixelated and Afraid, and it actually didn't center on Homer and Marge rediscovering their love for each other because they were already happy. And when they got lost in the woods, they didn't turn on each other and throw insults. It's actually a rare shift on animated comedy couples that are shown to hate each other more for the sake of it, rather than with any real feeling behind it. Therefore, it's an absolutely beautiful episode that I would really recommend you watching, with some truly intimate moments.
I know together we can make a pretty world.
Now, is it too much to ask for something similar with Peter and Lois? But with all these negatives aside, I will say that it does have its funny moments too, like this scene.
There's something very important I need to talk to you about.
Am I adopted?
What? No, what?
And the side plot of Stewie getting an SUV and that becoming his new personality did get a couple of chuckles out of me too. And one moment I definitely enjoyed in this episode was seeing that Quagmire and Donna go power walking together. It turns out that they are pretty close. And as you can probably tell from my past videos, I always welcome any chance for the Tubbs family to get some more screen time. And personally, I like when Family Guy does these little moments between characters you don't normally see interact. Overall, a middle of the road episode. Episode 4, The Munchurian Candidate. Now, this is perhaps the most infamous episode of the entire season, and one that reminded people of just how funny and off the rails Family Guy can truly be. In it, Lois hypnotizes Peter to go downtown on her whenever he hears the extra jingle. And at first, it's fun for Lois, until it's not. Because when they have dinner at her parents' house, Peter brings food up to Lois's sick mother. But when Lois hears that extra jingle coming from her mum's room, she runs upstairs in panic, leading on to, well, this. Alex Borstein really shows off her incredible vocal range as she delivers this line. And the first time I watched this, I couldn't stop laughing for several minutes, and I just had to keep rewatching it. And that awkward ride back home as they sit in silence, letting their phone calls from Bob and Carter go unanswered, is freaking hilarious. And aside from this scene alone, the episode as a whole is mostly fine. The other side plot of the episode sees Stewie trying to impress Brian and Chris with his new treehouse, with them saying they like it to his face, but as soon as they get outside, they absolutely roast him.
Brutal, right?
Oh, brutal.
I have no idea what he's going for up there.
Overall, it's a decent episode which is elevated by one of the best Family Guy moments of all time. The other episodes. The rest of the season's middle episodes are all kind of hazy to me and didn't leave much of an impression. While writing this video, I went back through the episode list just to remind myself of what happened, and none of them were awful, but they were just all kind of forgettable. And I did definitely consider reviewing every single episode individually, but to be honest, there wasn't too much to say for a big chunk of the middle season. But that's except for episode 7's The Stewaway, which I thought was genuinely really sweet. In it, Stewie hides in Quagmire's suitcase during a game of hide and seek, and he finds himself in Paris during one of Quagmire's layovers.
Stewie?
Mr. Quagmire?
We haven't really gotten too many moments between Quagmire and Stewie before, so I really enjoyed the dynamic here. Even if Quagmire isn't the most responsible guardian, allowing Stewie to get drunk, it did result in some truly wholesome moments.
I love you, man.
I love you too, man.
But when Stewie gets lost, Quagmire is forced to call up his old nemesis Brian to come over and help him find him. And when they do eventually find him in a graveyard, they all share a big old hug before walking through Paris with the Family Guy theme song playing on accordion. Again, a very sweet episode, and I would genuinely love to see more moments between these characters later on in the show.
There you go, little buddy.
But aside from this one, I found the other episodes to be mostly mid. Episode 11's Love Story Guy is just like the first episode where the guys tell stories of their first true loves, which lead them into parodying movies again. This time it's Castaway, Dirty Dancing, and various Meg Ryan rom-coms. I mean, they literally did this exact same idea already this season, and doing another one just seems lazy.
Hey, shut up, Meg.
Saying that, the episode isn't bad, and while I didn't enjoy it as much as the first one, I did find myself laughing a fair few times throughout.
Give me a kiss, you time-obsessed beardless man who is unable to spear a fish with a sharpened stick.
Character development.
But I have to say that my least favourite episode was the 12th one, entitled Old West. This one sees Mayor Wild West reunite with his estranged father, and I must say that I find Mayor Wild West absolutely dull and such a lackluster replacement for the hilariously eccentric Adam West. And that's nothing against Sam Elliott, because I like him fine enough in movies, but good God, this character is absolutely boring. I actually find myself slowly falling asleep whenever I hear his monotone voice. I don't know what you guys think.
I reckon you have no right to reckon about what I'm reckoning about.
Ultimately, it was both unfunny and entirely pointless, as Peter didn't even remember any of the lessons he learned by the end of it.
What did he teach you?
I don't know, cowboy stuff?
The 14th episode of the season, called White Meg Can't Jump, sees the return of the Meg bashing.
Every game you play is a game of horse with that face.
And anyone watching this channel knows that I'm not the biggest fan of the Meg jabs. And for a while at least, the writers mostly stopped this tired joke, only to bring it back in this episode. But at least there's an actual point for it this time around. Because when Meg joins the school's basketball team, she becomes an instant pro whenever her dad throws insults at her. And when he doesn't, she sucks. Unfortunately, during the final, Peter loses his voice, so Meg plays badly. So in front of everyone, she demands that Peter insults her so she can win.
From the bottom of my heart, I wish we never had you.
There's my dad.
I've really liked how Meg has come into her own in the past 5 years, and I do appreciate how she's been able to grow as this crazy and fun character. But this episode just didn't do too much for me. Now, another episode that I didn't really care about was the 16th one, called The Bird Reich. It revolves around Peter getting a parrot again. Haven't we seen this idea before, like in season 6? But this time is a little bit different, with the bird being revealed to be Hitler's pet, which is then revealed to be Jewish, and then the bird dies. And it just left me thinking, okay then. Now, let's talk about an episode I did like. Episode 17's A Bottle Episode. Now, I will say that an absolute standout character in this season is Lois, and I can honestly say that she's fastly becoming my favourite character in the show. Now, the writers have already established that she'll go to extreme lengths to accomplish something, like trying to become the customer of the week to only end up in jail, or when she tried to minimise her belongings and emptied the entire house.
I'm so happy!
And A Bottle Episode only builds on this, showing just how far she'll go to get her way.
Really, I should be thanking you for reminding me of who I am. A secret little psycho with very little to lose.
In the episode, the family book an Airbnb to Nantucket, but when their vacation ends, Lois is horrified to find that she's been given a 1-star review. All because she stole a bottle of shampoo.
Yo, that's borderline huge, Mom!
This low score drives Lois so mad that she moves to Nantucket to get a job as a DoorDash delivery woman, just so she can give the Airbnb owner her own low score, and then blackmail her to change her Airbnb rating.
Would. Host. Again.
Now, I didn't really care about the B plot of Brian and Stewie selling candy, but I loved the Lois story. And although I've given Lois a hard time in the past, I like that she is at least so different from other animated wives and mothers, like Marge and Linda Belcher, both of who I'm certainly fans of, but Lois is such an insane character and I'm absolutely digging it. And again, Alex Borstein absolutely kills it as Lois. And certainly within the last few seasons, she's been given far more opportunities to show off her range. The final couple of episodes, titled From Russia with Love and Adult Education, are 2-parters. And in the first one, Brian's Instagram is hacked, so with Meg's help, they track the scammer down in Russia. And it's here where Meg falls for the guy and stays in the country with him.
I'm an 8 in Russia, Brian. I'm staying here.
The next one shows that Meg is certainly enjoying her bland, miserable life in Russia, and even gets married to the scammer.
Husband and wife. You may share a joyless kiss.
But when she finds out that her new husband is only using her for a green card, she uses his Twitter to insult the Russian culture, causing him to get poison darted by the police. Now, to add a bit of context, Mila Kunis was born in the Ukraine, and in a response to the invasion, she said in an interview, "Oh my god, I feel like a part of my heart just got ripped out." Therefore, her and her husband started a GoFundMe with the aim of raising $30 million in humanitarian relief. With this in mind, I feel that these two episodes were a response to the conflict, as there were so many winks, nudges, and digs at Russia and their leader.
President Putin can be very sensitive.
And over on my channel, The Simpsons Theory, I dropped a video on every country The Simpsons visited and offended, with some nations like Brazil, China, and Japan all banning their episodes. But these jokes are nothing compared to how Family Guy roast Russia. They say it's miserable, bleak, and grey, goes ham on censorship, and they even say that the people are smelly and ugly. And I have to say that the best part of this episode is the Beauty and the Beast parody, which is sung by Seth's sister Rachel McFarlane. Now, I guess it was nice to see that Meg did get a win by the end, but on the other hand, they established that the only place she could possibly be happy is in such a miserable, bleak place. And predictably, there are constant insults about her looks. And aside from the Meg side plot, the final episode's main story is about Chris and his principal teaming up to make adult movies on the school grounds. And as the most forgotten Griffin, I always welcome more Chris spotlight episodes. Although I have to say that I don't find Principal Shepard's character to be funny at all. And annoyingly, they've been using him more and more recently. Overall, I have to say that these two episodes were nothing to write home about. So, my final conclusion. I find that Family Guy in general is a hard show to review. It's not like South Park, which lampoons on current events in a very smart and funny way. Family Guy is just not very deep. You definitely can't deconstruct it to that degree. Family Guy is a fun, silly show full of crazy characters and situations. And to be honest, I don't really expect that much from Family Guy, except for being entertained for 25 minutes and getting a few laughs. And season 21 definitely accomplished that. Despite having some middle-of-the-road episodes, season 21 had some really standout moments too, notably involving Lois. It's not one of its best seasons, but certainly not its worst. But you know what? It doesn't have to be just my opinion. What did you guys think of season 21? Let me know in the comments, and if there were any characters or episodes that really stood out to you. And I would love to do more of these review videos in the future, so do let me know if you enjoyed it. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.